Adini Chaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. On June 25, I think it's 1974, acting at the behest of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, India's president, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad declared a national state of emergency in response to prevailing, quote, internal disturbance, unquote, within the country. The order gave the prime minister the authority to rule by decree, allowing her to suspend elections and curtail civil liberties. Most of Gandhi's political opponents were imprisoned, and the press was censored. In effect, she became a dictator. Two days later, at a press conference at the Dallas airport, a reporter asked Prabhupada, would you comment on the political situation in India now? What do you think about Mrs. Gandhi's? But Prabhupada avoided speaking against her. Well, we're not very much concerned with political situation, he said. But our proposition is that anything, whether political, social, economical, or philosophical, without Krishna is all zero. So far as Mrs. Gandhi is concerned, she is inclined to some spiritual understanding. So actually, if she becomes advanced spiritually, then this emergency situation will improve. Otherwise, he went on to say that dictatorship was not bad if the dictator or monarch was godly, of high moral character and spiritual qualification. The Dallas Times-Herald covered Prabhupada's arrival, and Prabhupada was especially interested in the newspaper's version of his reply to the question about India's political situation. He liked the favorable statement about Indira Gandhi and asked that the article be saved. Prabhupada was so concerned about Juhu that he had Brahmananda phone and say that Prabhupada wanted a report. I wrote him the next day, I'm very sorry that I did not report to you earlier. The foundation of the first tower is already ready, except for 2 footings, which are to fall underneath the existing kitchen behind the present temple, and which require some special support. Today or tomorrow, the contractor should begin pouring the concrete for the columns which rise above the footing for the first tower. Since Matre had stopped our work for about 1 week, just before the heavy rains came, the second excavation got filled with water. But now we have finished pumping out most of the water and can begin to lay the foundation there. Saurabh, Prabhu, and the contractor have explained that the foundation is always troublesome, especially during monsoon, but that once we come above plinth level, we can lay 1 slab every 10 or 15 days, provided we have sufficient funds. Our architect Prem Nath has prepared the final plans for the temple and will submit the plans along with the NOC from the police to the municipality tomorrow. He expects that he can receive the IOD or permit and commencement certificate for the temple within 3 to 4 weeks, and he suggests we begin the work without waiting for the monsoon to end. Continuing, writing to Prabhupada. Meanwhile, Saurabh, Prabhu has been seeing to minor repairs for the tenants, and Prem Nath also had a meeting with the tenants to discuss the overall development of the land. At the meeting, we agreed we agreed to include a common area for the tenants to sit and for their children to play. Continuing the same letter, Prem Nath and I met the municipal officials last week to sort out our different pending disputes. The municipality is ready to renew the permission for the existing temple and to meet all our other requests. The only dispute which was not resolved involves that 10-foot strip of land which the city survey department had demarcated as public road. Tomorrow, Mr. Asnani and I are going to approach the city survey department with our evidence to convince them that the quote access road is our private property and that they should adjust their present maps according to the documents which show the road as being private. If the city survey office does not agree, we can always file a case in court and let the judge decide. Otherwise, the municipality still agrees that even if the 10-foot strip is decided to be public, they are willing to give it to us in exchange for our surrendering our claim for compensation for the setback land which we had already given them. Unquote. I also reflected in my letter on our success in obtaining NOC for the temple from the police. Quote, you must be pleased that we received the NOC from the police to construct our temple. It was a great fight. Even up to the last moment, Mr. Matre was trying everything to stop us, but by Krishna's grace, he could not succeed, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Parto Danur Daraha Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Everyone is appreciating how we could overcome such powerful opposition, but we know the secret that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is automatically victory and opulence. End of letter. A week later, I wrote, last week, Premnath completed a nice portfolio of plans and drawings for the project, and I shall send a portfolio for you with Kaladri when he goes to New Vrindavan. Break. While Prabhupada was in America, he received a telegram from Tejas saying that if he wanted an interview with Indira Gandhi, he would have to come immediately. So he cut short his North America tour and within days was back in Juhu. On his first morning walk, he reflected on his recent difficulties. So many obstacles we are facing, he said. Never mind. Still, we were coming out gradually. Kunti Devi said, Krishna, may all those dangerous days come again, so that I can always remember you when we were in dangerous days. You're always with us now. We are prosperous. You are going away. So better I call for those dangerous days again, so that you can remain with us and we can become surrendered to you. Then, looking at the Arabian Sea, Prabhupada remembered his voyage to America. I started on this ocean, 13th August, this ferocious ocean. One day, shortly thereafter, Dalita Bose, the daughter of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's brother, came to meet Prabhupada. I knew her from Calcutta, where she used to visit our temple. They spoke mostly in Bengali, Prabhupada telling her about his mission and asking her to help him, specifically in approaching Indira Gandhi. We should be supported, he said. If she understands, India will develop, I am sure. This is not bogus. This is exactly what Krishna has said. Our mission is Yari Deka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh. Bas. If you speak what Krishna has instructed, you become guru. But if you make your own concoction, your own invention, then I don't speak any nonsense. Only the instruction given in the Bhagavad Gita, that is my credit. That's all. People said I have done wonderful, but I do not know any magic. The wonderful thing I have done is that I didn't speak anything nonsense, any nonsense thing. Whatever success we have achieved is due to this. What you say, you act accordingly, Lilita added. What I learn from Krishna, I say, I don't say independently, that's not my business. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Amara Agyai Gurudhana Tara Idesh. You deliver your village people and become a guru. Everyone is not going to be so big that he can go all over the world, but everyone can teach within his limit, within his family, within his community, within his village, within his town, within his district. As he is capable, he can increase. But everyone can become guru and deliver the local people. How? Yari Deka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh. Then you are guru. As soon as you manufacture anything nonsense, then it is spoiled. That is going on. So many gurus are there. They are manufacturing. They are becoming Krishna. That is nonsense. You cannot become Krishna. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshir junatistati. You can stay. Can you stay in everyone's heart? You're claiming to be God. This one instance. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshir junatistati. He is Andantarastam Paramanu Chayantarastam. He is within this universe and he is within the atom. You're claiming to be Ishvara God. Are you within the atom? Are you within everyone's heart? Then how do you claim you're Ishvara? Practical. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam. Ishvara, God, is in everyone's heart. Sarva Shachaham Reddy Sani Vishta. If people lead their lives on the basis of Bhagavad Gita, everything will be fine. And as soon as you manufacture something, then it is spoiled. That is going on. The so-called gurus get some mystic power, yoga siddhi, and they show it and mislead people that they are God. That is the difficulty. Prabhupada's got some fire. In Calcutta, before meeting Prabhupada, Dalita had been leading followers. He had been a leading follower of Satya Sai Baba, who had shown some magic and been accepted by many people as God. But after being enlightened by Prabhupada, she challenged Sai Baba. Why are you misleading people by producing and giving them material things? You are involving them in more materialism. Bhaktivedanta Swami is performing the real miracle, making pure devotees of Krishna. Prabhupada asked for gurus, godmen, and good people with my chapter about him. They have written about me, he told Lalita, and about others as well. They have written about the others that when they were born, a light came and they did some miracle. For me, these things are not there. For me, there is a picture in Dallas. I'm taking one child's hand and I'm teaching how to write A, A in Sanskrit. This is my miracle. He asked Brahmananda to show Lalita the recommendations of professors who had purchased his books and a Hindi article about New Vrindavan. Quote, the people in America are very much appreciating this, he told her. When I meet the Prime Minister, I will take this, she said. You are changing people, actually transforming them. I just saw your temple in Mayapur, amazing, and the temple in Vrindavan. You can't even leave. Everyone is saying that the worship of the Hare Krishna Mandir is the best. They're saying that the deities look like they're about to speak. They look so alive. Beautiful. People are so impressed. The way the devotees are putting the shankha and then, arti. People say it is amazing that they have never seen anything like this. The doors open at the same time, the shankha sounds. In all our temples in America and Europe, we have the same standard, Prabhupada pointed out. You must give me your blessing, Lalita said. Indiraji has a strong desire and told me that I must tell you about village development, that the government is ready to give all money, but they need sincere devotees. Immediately, Prabhupada responded, sincere devotees we don't have the facility. If they are properly prepared, then we can genuinely do the work. I told Indiraji that Guru Maharaj has come to us. I even gave her all this literature. This is my prayer. At least 100 men come, I require. They will not take even one paisa from India. I can show you in the accounts how money is coming from outside for their maintenance. They don't care about politics. They just need visas. They will not take one paisa from India. Rather, they will give. They have no scarcity. They have come here to learn about Bhagavat Bhakti. And if India throws them out, it is not a good thing. If they have nothing to do with politics. We are trying to unite the whole world. Our platform is Krishna consciousness. This is the United Nations. The so-called United Nations, have been working for over 20 years. What work they have done? Only increasing the flags. Hindustan, Pakistan, Vietnam. What is this? This is not unity. Pandita Samadarshana. Without being a pundit, without acquiring knowledge, how can they have equal vision? Brahmabhuta prasanatmana sarchati nakangsati samak sarveshu bhuteshu. Only when one is transcendental can he be equally disposed. Being covered by the darkness of Maya, they cannot have equal vision. Being envious and competitive each other. Such a big work, Krishna consciousness, is going on all over the world. And those who are assisting me, if the Indian government rejects them, it is not good. This you make them understand properly. If they do that, it will not be a good thing. Let us be given this concession. If I have to do this village organization, and for this I get cooperation, then I will show them a miracle. Just like people are seeing this miracle, the whole world is chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. I will show this miracle in India, how to organize villages. That is how I will do it. You want 100 men? Yes. I'm not asking for more. If they get into any sort of politics, if any fault is found in them, if they interfere in any politics, diplomacy, then immediately they will leave. But this will not happen. I know because I prepared them. They consider these things insignificant, like dogs and jackals fighting. We have no interest in them. We want to remove this dog consciousness from them. You bring some dogs together and tell them to live peacefully. Is this ever possible? This you can make by your blessing. Let us start the projects. Yes. Many times when the newspapers asked me, I said that Indira Gandhi is spiritually inclined. If she improves, it will be perfect. And she wants to be improved. Barefoot Swami draws admiring Krishna crowd. Prabhupada circled from the article, and he directed Brahmananda to read more. Quote, asked about the political situation in his native India and the criticized actions of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, Brahmananda read, The Swami replied that Mrs. Gandhi is inclined to some spiritual understanding, and if she fully develops it, the situation will improve. Democracy is not much beneficial if its leaders have no spiritual values. Mahatma Gandhi was practically a dictator, but he was a man of high moral character, so people accepted him. Dictatorship can be good, provided the dictator is spiritually developed. Stay for some time in India, Valita requested. I will, if there is cooperation from you all. This is a very big movement. If intelligent girls like you help us, then I will stay in India. I will give her such advice that all India will be benefited, provided she listens to me. The person I spoke to yesterday told me that, quote, she is eager to meet him, so he should talk high level. So you tell her that my boys have sacrificed everything and have come for the development of India, and you please do this little thing. We have some problem with tourist visa. Why tourist visa? Prabhupada asked. There is another visa, missionary. With that visa, they can stay permanently in the US. They have given me this because I am missionary, so that I can stay permanently, permanent resident for India's improvement. I am ready to do anything. He quoted a Bengali saying, quote, from stitching shoes to reading the Chandi. I don't know what that means. Any Bengalis in the room? You know? Huh? You don't know. Why is everybody laughing?
Because I think she just said something and she didn't expect you'll ask her. And the moment you ask her, I think she just went into a shell.
Oh.
She does that every time. So we tease her.
Oh, okay. You disappeared too? Okay. She may ask about foreign exchange for the development of India. I'm bringing foreign exchange. Whatever property I have here, the money has come from abroad. Nothing has come from here. Whatever money I require for my work, I bring from abroad. I brought crores and crores of rupees. I have all the bank details. I mentioned this to Brahmananda, Reddy, the Minister of Home Affairs. And I'm also telling you that if you arrange for their visas, then I will be in peace. Otherwise, I have made this big institution, and if they leave, then how will I manage? Everything will get spoiled, and there will be great harm. You have done such an amazing work. We, people of India, cannot be like them. We need some time. Not time. The way they are listening seriously, the reason I came here running is that this science is meant for the executive head of a state. In Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, it is stated, Imam bivasvate yogam proktavam aha abhyamyam, etc. It is meant for the Rajarshis. Indira is in the position of a Raja. If she becomes a Rishi, then it will be successful. This is what I will tell her. I came running here just to tell her this, that you have got the position of royalty. You become a saintly lady. Then your scheme will be all successful. That is required. That I can help how to make her a Rishi. Then not only the people of India will be benefited, but also the whole world will be benefited. You have got that sampati, Bhagavad Gita guidance. I will not manufacture anything. That is not my business. Concoction, hodgepodge, without any knowledge, without any experience. We are not that type. We will account for every single penny. They will do it very nicely. They are expert at doing it, and the money they will give us, we will give accounts for every single penny. We just want facility. even if they don't give us money. We will bring money by begging abroad. We want the facility to work. If you two get together, what you can say orally alone will not work, Lolita suggested. What does that mean? You will tell her everything, and after you meet someone else, after you meet, someone else will come to meet her, and she'll forget about what you said. But if it is in writing, then on that basis, his Khan's work will be done. So now what shall I write? Prabhupada asked. And after discussing with Lolita and the devotees present, he dictated the following draft, which he asked Brahmananda to read out. Okay. Your Excellency, Srimati Indira Devi Gandhi. When I was in Toronto, Canada, Srimati Lalita Devi, who is just like my daughter, sent me one intimation that she approached you for a meeting with me and you, and I have come here, postponing all my engagements. I am preaching this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world on the basis of Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita. Actually, this Krishna consciousness movement is called the Sankirtan movement and sometimes the Hare Krishna movement, which was inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya in Bengal and throughout all India. His mission is that everyone should become a guru and preach all over the world the instructions of Krishna. So we are doing this very faithfully, and it is becoming effective. I think in India also, if some vigorous activity is done for awakening the Krishna consciousness of the people under your leadership, it will be very efficient. We have already 8 branches in India, and all development is being done by foreign exchange. It can be continued if I get encouragement by the government. So I shall be very much pleased to see you in this connection. I have written about 50 books of 400 pages each, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And these books are very popular in foreign countries such as Europe and America. By the sales proceeds, I am bringing foreign exchange yours sincerely. Yours sincerely is all right, or your well-wisher, Prabhupada asked. Well-wisher, Lalita said. Your well-wisher. The word is already there. Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Chitete Kariya Aikya. So immediately type it and give it to her. Where it says that I am bringing foreign exchange in the end by selling my books, and I am bringing foreign exchange is for India's development? Jai Pataka asked. For developing my scheme here, Prabhupada replied. And Gopal Krishna mentioned the point that we're bringing foreign exchange, whether there should be any word that also signifies that we have local support also. Our books are popular in foreign countries as well as in India. We're getting money also from these books. We have quotations from professors in America and also India. Brahmananda said, yes. You'll present one Gita, Lalita advised, and write, lead your life according to these teachings. She is full of bhakti, but she needs good guidance. I shall personally teach Bhagavad Gita to her and her most confidential associates, or who is governing. That I can do if she agrees. Imam Rajarshayo Vidu. I want a Rajarshi to take up this movement seriously, but I could not get one until now. If she becomes, it will be a benefit for me, for the world, for her, everyone, because I have no power, I have no money. But if one Rajarshi, who has got strength, money, intelligence, if she takes, then it'll be very quickly successful, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement became very successful when Maharaj Prataparudra in Orissa took it. Gautama Buddhist movement was successful when Maharaj Ashok took it. It requires, and Krishna says, Rajarshayo Vidu. Later, Prabhupada finalized his letter, including a list of points to be addressed with Prime Minister Gandhi. 1. There's 6 points. As it is stated in our letterhead, the Krishna consciousness movement is for the whole human society for reviving God consciousness. Mami Vangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The living entity and God are intimately related as part and the whole. 2. We are preaching this philosophy on the basis of Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any interpretation. This is a cultural and educational movement to understand what we are, what is God, and what is our relationship, and how to act upon it. 3. The basic principle is that people must eat sumptuously and be freed from all anxieties to cultivate their spiritual identity and their relationship with God. We invite everyone without any discrimination of caste, creed, or nationality. And factually, within our society, there are members from all parts of the world, Europe, America, Africa, etc. 4. In India, we have got special interest to distribute prasad to the half-fed or hungry population. For this purpose, we are getting money from America, and we are getting goods from Australia. We've got already 6 or 7 centers in India, and we are distributing prasad in all centers. 5. The young Indian men are not joining our movement. So for conducting all this business, we require 500 to 150 to 100 foreigners who are trained up. We have no business to take part in politics. We are bringing money from outside India. Practically, we do not eat by spending India's money. We are therefore requesting to allow our men to work on this mission to distribute prasad without any expenditure from India's side. Even for our own subsistence, we shall bring money from abroad, and the bank will certify. 6. If we take to politics, we can be asked to leave, but we are only interested in this movement of welfare activities. On this basis, we ask for 50 to 100 men. The following morning, after passing through a formidable security check, Prabhupada met Prime Minister Gandhi at her residence. She stood, greeted him cordially, and offered him a seat, but he sensed that she was anxious and distracted, fearful for her life, possibly the next target after the recent assassination of the president of Bangladesh. She admitted as much and added that this was not, therefore, a good time to meet. Prabhupada felt that she would have preferred not to meet at all, but that because she had promised, she did so anyway, which he took as an indication that she had at least some inclination towards spiritual life. Gandhi complimented Prabhupada for the good work he was doing internationally. "They are good boys," she responded. As Jayapataka learned afterwards, he and other devotees had accompanied Prabhupada to the Prime Minister's residence, but had not been allowed into the meeting. Gandhi had asked Prabhupada how he knew his followers weren't CIA agents. "I went to the West and preached," he had told her. "These people have sacrificed everything. They gave up their bad habits. They're getting up at 4 in the morning, attending Mangalarti. If they were CIA, they would live in 5-star hotels and have a whole different lifestyle. They wouldn't be vegetarians and give up all these habits." Prabhupada had understood that he would not be able to bring up his entire list of topics, but when he had asked if Gandhi would arrange permanent visas for his disciples, she said she would. One of our strategies in Juhu was attracting important people from the vast Bombay entertainment industry, Bollywood, many of whom had residences in Juhu. Several months earlier, the Hindi film star Prem Nath had come to Juhu for darshan. Jagat Purush had greeted him and presented him with some devotional gifts and Mahaprasad. And starting From that contact, Jagat Purush had begun cultivating actors, music directors, and producers, and enrolling as many as possible as life members. After a few months, he'd been able to meet with Raj Kapoor, the quote, king of the India film industry, at his RK studios at Chembur. After half an hour conversation, he had presented him with several books, Mahaprasad, and other gifts from the temple. His intention had been just to leave a good impression of Srila Prabhupada's mission, semicolon. He wouldn't yet bring up the subject of life membership. When Raj Kapoor had noticed a membership form in Jagat Purush's briefcase, however, to see it, and then kept it with the other items he had received. Several weeks passed, and then unexpectedly news came from Vrindavan that Srila Prabhupada had received a letter from Raj Kapoor with a check for life membership. Sri Kapoor had written that the greatest moments in life were those lived with the Lord, that infinite ocean of divine love, Krishna. And with your great blessings, I choose to dedicate myself to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness by becoming a life member. Prabhupada was very pleased that one of India's most prominent personalities was appreciating and supporting his movement. And on August 26, he replied, Dear Sri Kapoorji, please accept my greetings. I am in due receipt of your letter dated August 1475 with enclosed check 2222 rupees and membership form. Sometimes in the year 1954, if I am correct, I had the chance of meeting you in Jhansi. At that time, I was trying to organize my movement with the help of some young men from the Bhakti Bhavan Jhansi. After 10 years of struggle in 1965, I went to USA, and by the grace of Krishna, it has become successful all over Europe, America, Canada, and Australia. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yadyarajrati Shreshtas, Tattadevi Tarorjana, etc. Whatever actions is performed by a great man, common men follow. Your donation to this movement and your becoming the life member is a great thing, and it will ensure others who will also follow in your footsteps. I'm very much grateful to you. Please visit our Hare Krishna land Juhu for Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja Day on 30th instant. I think the Mayor of Bombay will preside over the meeting. August 14. So it's 29th and 30th of August is Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja. The day before, on August 25, in Bombay, the municipal commissioner had agreed to issue the permit, the IOD, for the temple. And I cabled Prabhupada in Vrindavan. Commissioner agrees, written IOD temple within 24 hours. Prabhupada wrote me the next day. So this is very good news. Actually, Krishna is doing everything. Only we are taking the credit. I'm closing a copy of the latest Back to Godhead, he added, and I'm requesting that in your Janmashtami festival meeting, you read the article under, quote, ISKCON News about the Rath Yatra festival. The point is that in the foreign countries, they are accepting this as a bona fide religion and making holidays. And our Rath Yatra is regularly established. But in our own country, they're giving so many hindrances. Anyway, after all, we have got the permission. I am also sending you a copy of this correspondence with Raj Kapoor. This should be discussed in your meeting, how prominent people are giving us respect. Why are others making false propaganda? This correspondence can be published by you along with his photograph. I think you have one publication in members lists. Member lists, it can go in there. When the rain subsided, I wrote Prabhupada, the construction is progressing according to Saurabh Prabhu's expectations. The first tower is ready for the first slab to be laid. Second tower pillars are complete to ground level and ready for the plinth. All the work is being done departmentally. There is no general contractor. Saurabh Prabhu feels that once the first slab is laid on each tower, the work will proceed much faster since the RCC design for the ground floor is very complicated and the upper stories will be more standard and replicating. And 3 days later, I wrote, the digging for the foundation of the temple has already begun, and although about 150 persons are working altogether, 150 persons are working on the site daily. In time, however, I saw that the quality of the work was poor and that the progress was slow. Just looking at the work, even a layman like me could see that it wasn't the best. Then we, or rather Prabhupada, discovered that construction materials were being stolen. None of us were aware of it, except Prabhupada, who was in Africa, 3,000 miles away. One of the tenants had understood what was happening and somehow gotten word to him. There was a conspiracy between the laborers, the engineer, the storekeeper, the chokidars, and everyone. Our engineer and storekeeper were father and son-in-law, and without checks and balances, they were working in collusion, and they had enlisted the help of a next-door neighbor whose property was separated from ours by only a low wall. At night, the conspirators were stealing large quantities of material, throwing it over the wall onto the neighbor's property. Upon receiving word of the thefts, Prabhupada in Nairobi practically stopped eating and translating. When Brahmananda, who was serving as a secretary there, asked why, Prabhupada replied, "How can I eat when my money is being stolen?" And within a few days, he packed his bags and came straight back to Bombay. Wow. Oh, Prabhupada. Prabhupada's flight arrived at 1 a.m. But even at that hour, he was greeted at the temple by a gathering of intimate life members, disciples, and some of the tenants. In his room, he disclosed that he had been in a serious automobile accident. He even showed us a scar on his knee. He was in a grave mood, and seeing his leg, many devotees wept. But he said he was relieved to be back. He wrote to a friend, "I went to Mauritius, South Africa, and again, Mauritius, where I met the mayor. I met with a major motor accident in my car. All my men got slightly injured, and they were saved by Krishna. The accident was disastrous, but still Krishna saved us. Then I went to Nairobi, and from there I've come to Bombay. Perhaps I may stay here for some time for finishing our temple construction on this land." Prabhupada got right to work. He fired the engineer, whom he held responsible for the poor, slow work and stolen materials. He had tried to avoid hiring a construction company by having Saurabh oversee the whole project, assigning work to various subcontractors. But that wasn't working. He wanted a change, but there was no clear alternative. "We have come to Krishna consciousness for a life of eternal bliss," he told me, "but instead of eternal bliss, I'm suffering eternal anxiety." He appealed to us to do something. Sound familiar? Straight from the Acharya, right? Hearing kirtan coming from the direction of the temple one day, Prabhupada commented, This is Hare Krishna land. Always the sound of Hare Krishna should be heard. Another time when he heard the sound of a child crying in the distance, he quoted the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 7:9-19. Bala Sneha Sharanam Pitaro Nishingha. In this verse, Shri Prahlad prays, My dear Lord Nrsingadev, O Supreme, because of bodily conception of life, embodied souls, neglected and not cared for by you, cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporary, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient, and a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. Hearing the child's crying, Prabhupada said, the father and the mother want to protect the child and see that it is always happy, but even in their presence, the child may suffer and cry. The only guarantee, protection, is Krishna's. Imagine being in Prabhupada's association through all of this, all these tribulations, and he's. Later, I found the same instruction in Srila Prabhupada's purport to the verse. Quote, through parental care, though remedies for different kinds of disease, and through means of protection on the water, in the air, and on land, there is always an endeavor for relief from various kinds of suffering in the material world, but none of them are guaranteed measures for protection. They may be beneficial temporarily, but they afford no permanent benefit. Despite the presence of a father and mother, a child cannot be protected from accidental death, disease, and various other miseries. No one can help, including the parents. Ultimately, the shelter is the Lord, and the one who takes shelter of the Lord is protected. This is guaranteed. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:31, Koteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Therefore, unless one is protected by the mercy of the Lord, no remedial measure can act effectively. One should consequently depend fully on the causeless mercy of the Lord, although as a matter of routine duty, one must, of course, accept other remedial measures. No one can protect one who is neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Break. During the construction, Gopal Krishna recalled, as we started the excavation for the temple area, while digging, we found a plaque with an inscription in Marathi. And it was established that there was a Hanuman temple almost exactly at the location where the Sitaram altar is now located. Hey, and you never knew that. So we preserved that plaque in Prabhupada's apartment, and when two Maharashtrian politicians came to meet him, they read that Marathi and concluded that the Marathi script was 500 years old. When they told Prabhupada, he was extremely happy to discover that there had been a temple at the same location 500 years earlier. One evening, Harikesh and Saurabh got to talking about Prabhupada's plan for the Mayapur project. Harikesh appreciated Prabhupada's genius, how from Mayapur God-centered cities with temples, educational institutions, and proper social organization would spread all around the globe, became so excited that he ran all the way from the construction office to Prabhupada's apartment. He bounded up the stairs and, without even knocking, burst into Prabhupada's room and threw himself on the floor and paid full dandavats. Prabhupada was in the middle of eating a sandesh and at puri. He looked at Harikesh with big eyes, then went back to eating. Srila Prabhupada, Harikesh exclaimed, you're a genius. Prabhupada looked up and said, "Oh, your plans for taking over the world. This is wonderful. This is fantastic. How you've made this plan for Mayapur and everything so perfectly arranged." Harikesh went on and on. Prabhupada smiled and said, "Thank you very much." Then he said, "Come here." He broke the sandesh he was eating in half. He gave Harikesh one half and the rest of his puri, and still smiling said, "Thank you very much." One morning, I had an appointment. What a story. This is just like, what a wonderful story. One morning, I had an appointment with a pious, wealthy Gujarati businessman, Mr. Mehta, at his massive mansion near Haji Ali. In the course of our conversation, Mr. Mehta mentioned that in his Vallabha Charya Sampradaya, they considered Vritrasura's prayers in the sixth canto of the Bhagavatam to express the essence of their philosophy. And he read and translated them to me, both in the prayer's content and in their significance. In the Vallabha line, they reminded me of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshastaka and its position in our Gaudiya Vaishnav line. Excited by my discovery of these prayers, when I got back to Juhu, I went straight to meet Prabhupada. I told him about my talk with Mr. Mehta, and he motioned for me to take down the relevant volume of sixth canto and read the verses aloud. I asked if I should read only the translation, but he said I should recite the Sanskrit and then read the translation and purports. Here we go. I read from chapter 11, verses 24 to 27. So he gives the whole thing here, 24 to 27. Well, know what happens after that. Reading Srila Prabhupada's translations and purports, I was struck by the depth and beauty of the verses, with its examples of the baby birds and small calves. Text 26 alluded to the parental Vatsalya relationship, which is prominent in the Vallabha Sampradaya, and the example of the wife to the conjugal relationship, which is the ultimate goal for the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada had reciprocated perfectly with my enthusiasm for my discovery, out of his love for me and for Krishna, which filled my heart with love for him. Where else could I find such a merciful benefactor? But as I was leaving his room, I had another thought. Srila Prabhupada has so much important service to do, I considered. He was kind to me, but in a way I was wasting his time, which he could have spent for other more worthwhile purposes, and I felt a little ashamed. On one morning walk, I was feeling especially wretched and miserable, and although so many other devotees were present, Prabhupada began speaking as if he were addressing me personally. He quoted a Sanskrit verse by Sri Yamunacharya from his Stotra Ratna, quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhavantam evanu charan nirantara, prashanta dishesha manoratantara, kadaham aikantika nitya kinkara, parhasya siyami sanata jivatam. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage in your permanent eternal servant, as your permanent eternal servant, and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? He said that there were two words, anatta and sanata. Nata means master, and anatta means, Nata means master, so anatta meant without master, and sa nata meant with master. The whole goal of life, he said, is to become sanata with master. He pointed to a fat and fit gentleman walking with equally fat or fit dog. The man was walking briskly and confidently with his dog on his leash, and the dog was walking equally briskly and confidently with his master by his side. Prabhupada commented, even dog wants a good master. If the dog has a good master, he is happy. He holds his head high. He wags his tail. He knows that his master will maintain and protect him, so he has no anxiety. But the street dog, the poor fellow, has no master. Therefore, he is always suffering. Prabhupada pointed to some stray dogs. They have no master. They do not know where they will sleep, how they will get food. Other dogs bark at them. Children throw stones at them. They are always in anxiety. Then Prabhupada stopped walking and planted his cane firmly in the sand. Although I stood behind many of the devotees who had moved close around him, he looked at me. His eyes filled with love and compassion and said, so we should be sanata, protected, not anatta, orphan. We shall have our master and be exclusively devoted to him. Then we will feel confident in his protection and always be happy. Prabhupada explained each Sanskrit word. Mano Rata, the chariot of the mind. Mental concoction is driving us here, there. We have no peace. But when we have our perfect master to serve, we become peaceful, prashanta, and jubilant. I've got my master. I have no cares and anxiety. This is the ideal of life, to become sanata jivatam, living with hope that I've got my master who will give me protection. I felt he was speaking directly to me, addressing my present need in Krishna consciousness. Without my even asking or saying anything, he knew my heart and gave the perfect solution through his instructions, exemplifying the verse from the Bhagavatam 3:7-36. Anuvratanam shishyanam putranam cha dvijotama anaprishtam api broyu guruvo dina vatsala. Those who are spiritual masters are very kind to the needy. They are always kind to their followers, disciples, and sons. And without being asked by them, the spiritual master describes all that is knowledge. Several years later, I again came across the verse that Prabhupada had quoted, and reading the purport found the same instruction that he had given on Juhu Beach. Quote, just as a dog or a servant is very satisfied to get a competent, perfect master, or as a child is completely satisfied to possess a competent father, so the living entity is satisfied by completely engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord. He thereby knows that he has a competent master to save him from all kinds of danger. Prabhupada always spoke on the basis of scripture. At the same time, because of his compassion and humanity, he could say just the right thing at the right time, the right thing in the right way, to deeply touch the heart of each individual listener. I always try to remember and follow the instructions he gave me on Juhu Beach. And ever since that day, whenever I've walked there and seen the different types of dogs, those with masters and those without, I have remembered those instructions and prayed that I always remember always remain Srila Prabhupada's dog. Let's go back to these verses that are in the Vallabhacharya essence. Aham Hare Tava Padika Mula Dasanudaso Babitasmi Bhuyaha Manak Smaretaso Pater Gunamste Granita Vat Karma Karotu Kayaha. Oh, my Lord, O Supreme Personality Godhead, will I again be able to be a servant of your eternal servants who find shelter only at your lotus feet? Oh, Lord of my life, may I again become their servant so that my mind may always think of your transcendental attributes, my words always glorify those attributes, and my body always engage in the loving service of your Lordship. Purport. This verse gives the sum and substance of devotional life. One must first become a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Dasa Dasanudas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, and he also showed by his own example that a living entity should always desire to be a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis, Gopi Bhartur Padakamali or Dasanudas. This means that one must accept a spiritual master who comes in disciplic succession and is a servant of the Lord. Under his direction, one must then engage one's three properties, namely body, mind, and words. The body should be engaged in physical activity under the order of the master. The mind should think of Krishna incessantly, and one's words should be engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord. If one is thus engaged in the loving service of the Lord, one's life is successful. That's 24, and there's 3 more. Na Kaprishtam na cha parameshtyam na sarva bhaumam na rasadipatyam na yoga siddhir apunar bhavam va samanjasa tva virahaya kankshe. O my Lord, source of all opportunities, I do not desire to enjoy in Dhruvaloka the heavenly planets or the planet where Lord Brahma resides, nor do I want to be the supreme ruler of all the earthly planets or lower planetary systems. I do not desire to be master of the powers of mystic yoga. I do not want liberation if I have to give up your lotus feet. Purport. A pure devotee never desires to gain material opportunities by rendering transcendental service to the Lord. A pure devotee desires only to engage in loving service to the Lord in the constant association of the Lord and his eternal associates, as stated in the previous verse, dasano daso bhavatasmi, as confirmed by Narottam Das Thakur, Tandera Charana, Sevi Bhakta Sanivas, Janame Janame Hoy E Avilas, to serve the Lord and the servant of his servants in the association of devotees is the only objective of a pure, unalloyed devotee. And 2 remaining. Ajata Paksha Iva Mataram Kaga Stanyam Yata Vatsarat Vat Satara Kshud Artha Priyam Priyeva Vyushitam Visanna Mano Prandaksha Didrikshate Tvam. O Lotus eyed Lord, as baby birds that have not yet developed their wings always look to their mother to return and feed them, as small calves tied with ropes await anxiously the time of milking and when they will be allowed to drink the milk of their mothers, or as a morose wife whose husband is away from home always longs for him to return and satisfy her in all respects, I always yearn for the opportunity to render direct service unto you. Purport: a pure devotee always yearns to associate personally with the Lord and render service unto him. The examples given in this regard are most appropriate. A small baby bird is practically never satisfied except when the mother bird comes to feed it. A small calf is not satisfied unless allowed to suck the milk from the mother's udder. And a chaste, devoted wife whose husband is away from home is never satisfied until she has the association of her beloved husband. 27. Mamotama shloka janeshu sakyam samsara chakre brahmatak swakarma bhi tun mayayat matmaja dara geheshu asakta chittasya na nata bhuyat. O my Lord, my Master, I'm wandering throughout this material world as a result of my fruitive activities. Therefore, I simply seek friendship in the association of your pious and enlightened devotees. My attachment to my body, wife, children, and home is continuing by the spell of your external energy, but I wish to be attached to them no longer. Let my mind, my consciousness, and everything I have be attached only to you. So we read the rest. And he's done a wonderful job of, it's all firsthand. It's, his story, but it's all his story is centered on Prabhupada. I mean, he must have done a lot of deep thinking about how to put this together. There's a lot of people, and people coming and going. So we're up to page 342. 678. There's an epilogue. 678. 342. We got a ways to go. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.